The following motion picture is rated R and closed captioned for the hearing impaired.
Hi, Frank.
Where are you right now?
None of your business.
Come on, Fletch. Aren't you bored? I need you for a story. I got that police report you wanted. I just emailed it to you. It's encrypted.
What's the password?
Go F yourself.
My father's paintings were stolen. The Picasso was appraised at $20 million.
Well, that hardly seems worth stealing.
You're not a detective.
But I was an investigative reporter. It's an occupation that's been cheapened by the digital age, like president.
Earl Maurice Fletcher?
They caught me in the middle of a yawn. Can you imagine that?
Who killed this young woman?
I think the victim interrupted an art theft.
Your fingerprints are on the murder weapon, and someone matching your description was seen with the victim. Come back with me to police headquarters.
I get it. You want my help? Okay. Hey, guys, this is the way we can call in a coffee order. I'd kill for a macchiato. Not literally.
I looked into your criminal record.
And?
You're a bit of a shady character, Mr. Fletcher.
But I am adorable.
If you did kill that girl, do the right thing and give me an exclusive.
Let's talk about the suspects.
The Countess de Grazia married Papa for his money. Somehow she's involved.
Flesh, you're trying to seduce me.
Quite the collection of impressionists you have here.
Those are reproductions.
That's how we introduce my children. Why did you lie to me?
You're becoming paranoid. Maybe you should get a gun.
Did you murder that girl? Okay.
No, I didn't. Did you?
What is this? Woodburn and Bernstein?
Almost.
This stupid idiot moron has something to do with this.
You want me on the outside so I can solve this thing. Are you Fletcher? Yes, I am. Oh! I mean, no, I'm not. I always get that wrong.
I don't know who people hate more, cops or reporters.
It's cops.
It's the 10th year of my movie month. 30 movies, 30 days. Movie month, 30 podcasts, 30 days. Movie month, 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts. It's year 10.
My dinner's ready, but I'm not eating right away. I am going to open and close the microwave so it doesn't beep every 30 seconds, and I'm going to hold off enjoying my dinner to talk to you about today's film. Today, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to day 8. I had to look at my my phone for a second to see the date. It's day 8 of movie month, which means, you know this, that for the 8th day in a row, I've watched a movie I've never seen before, and for the 8th day in a row, I am podcasting about said movie. And today's film is a 2022 adaptation of a book, I believe, a book series called Fletch. Have you ever heard of it? Yes, it was adapted in the early 80s. This is not a sequel. This is a brand new movie, a brand new adventure, a brand new Fletch. Everyone knows, I should say most people, everyone listening to this would know Fletch. Fletch was a character in a bunch of books that then became Chevy Chase. He was if you say Fletch, you don't think the books right away. You think Chevy Chase right away. Fletch, the original movie, which I remember really enjoying. I haven't seen in a million years. And then Fletch Lives, which a few years later, which I think I kind of enjoyed at the time, but I'm pretty sure it's not good at all. And then nothing. There was never a Fletch 3. You would have thought at one point Chevy Chase would come back to try to do Fletch again. Maybe they didn't like working with him. I feel like he's got this reputation of being kind of a dick, even though I've loved him in his roles in the 80s, and I've loved him in his role on Community. Fletch 3 never happened. There was talk of it for years. All these different people trying to do it. At one point, I remember was Chevy Chase was going to come back. Then at one point, Kevin Smith was going to write it for Jason Lee was going to be Fletch, and I thought that actually felt like a good like a guy who would fit the role. And then finally, all these years later, we see Jon Hamm as Irwin M. Fletcher coming back. Now, I'd like to say this isn't a sequel, but it's like a reboot, right? It's a whole new guy. It's a whole new actor. It's kind of a different style. Like, it wasn't as silly as Chevy Chase was. It was a little more serious, but it was still a lot of fun as well. Now, if you don't know Jon Hamm, you never watched Mad Men. Of course, he is the great Don Draper. And what makes this movie even more fun is that the newspaper guy that he has a good history with, a good rapport with, is the great John Slattery. And you obviously know this, right? John Slattery, also from Mad Men. He played the, I can't even think of his name, but the fact that he and Jon Hamm were together. He was Roger Sterling. There we go. Don Draper and Roger Sterling, like the two of them hanging out together, seeing John Slattery just sitting in his office holding a drink. I was like, yes, give me more of that. I was a late bloomer coming to Mad Men years after it was already done, but I absolutely adore that show. I did a whole podcast on it, available at fansnotexperts.com. It's called Made Man. I covered every single episode. The complete series is available right now for you. So seeing them together was great. I didn't realize that this was directed by someone I'd heard of, a guy named Greg Mottola. I was getting him confused. I thought this was the CW guy who did all the superhero movies. But this Greg Mottola did a movie called Adventureland I've never seen, Day Trippers I've never seen, but he was the director of Superbad. So there's that. That's the one I do know. And apparently, after all this said and done, he was hired to write a sequel to this movie, but I'm not sure he even said, I'm not sure if it's ever going to come to fruition. Obviously, the movie itself didn't make any money. It was released during COVID. It had a $20 million budget. It made under $700,000, which is a shame because it's just a good, nice, small, little movie. And I say that because there's no real star power in this movie. Star power. That sounded weird when I said it. You know, Jon Hamm is the biggest star, but he is not. He's a great actor. I love him. He's best known for being a TV star, really. But he's in a bunch of movies that he's always good in. And what I like about him is that Don Draper was such a, heavy character, such a just dramatic guy. Sometimes you'd hate him, sometimes you'd love him. But Jon Hamm, whenever I've seen him in interviews or I've seen him in other things, he's so light. He likes to be silly and he likes to be funny, and he's a funny guy. He's been on 30 Rock. He's been funny in multiple times I've seen him on there. But he comes to this movie and he plays him kind of a little aloof. Now, I remember someone saying, oh, this is more like the character in the books. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, there were a bunch of Fletch books. And, oh, yeah, I read a bunch of the Fletch, or at least a few of the at least 3, I would say. I remember I did this, when my wife and I lived in Florida, I was working from home for the same place I work for now. So I wasn't leaving the house ever. And I wasn't meeting people. I didn't know many people. We had some family down there. That was it. So I was like, I'm going to go do something. I found I'm going to be honest, I found a creative writing class that I took at a local high school. It was like one of those adult learning things, and you go once a week. But it just got me out of the house, first of all, and it got me writing something. And like getting creative. And one of the things was bring in a book or bring in something interesting. And I brought in a Fletch book. And the reason I brought in a Fletch book is because I remember the thing I thought these were written by Gregory MacDonald. The thing I found interesting in them is and I hope I'm remembering this correctly, but I remember seeing pages of dialogue between two characters, and there was no, and then Fletch said this, and then the other person said this, the other person said this, and then Fletch said this. It's just bing, bang, boom, 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 and you just had to keep up. You had to remember who was talking, and it was just like quick, quick, quick. And I remember just finding that like different, an interesting thing, and you see a lot of that in this movie too, because Fletch is quick. He has a lot of quick things, a lot of little sarcastic things that you pick up on, and I thought Jon Hamm was great in it. I actually really, really, really enjoyed this movie. You're not looking for Chevy Chase to be silly. You're looking for Jon Hamm to just kind of be a little aloof, very sarcastic, and good at what he does. And that's what we got with this. Now, this was a movie where he used to be in the original in the original Fletch movie, he was a investigative reporter. And I think in the second one, he wasn't. He retired. I'm listening to a podcast about it now. I'm listening to a Now Playing episode about Fletch Lives. And he was like in the South. I don't remember much about it, but I might have seen it in the movie theater. Maybe, I don't know if me and my brother went to see it. My brother and I. And then in Confess Fletch, he does something. He's helping someone. Maybe it's his girlfriend, and he keeps saying, "I used to be an investigative reporter of some repute." Anyway, that was his line. I used to be an investigative reporter, but he gets himself into an investigation. He is there helping his girlfriend, it's kind of like trying to keep up. So the girlfriend's father was kidnapped, and the person who kidnapped him wants this art because the art will pay for the kidnapping, but the art's been stolen. So now Fletch has to find the stolen art to return so they can get the dad back who's been kidnapped. But at the same time, at the house he's renting, there's a dead body. Bing, bang, boom. So now there's murder. And there's hijinks with an art dealer played by Kyle MacLachlan? Something like that. There's the murder. Now, it's funny. When you go to IMDb, it says top cast, Jon Hamm as Fletch. And then the next person listed is Caitlin Zera Rose as Laurel Goodwin, also known as the dead body. So maybe it's cast in order of appearance because she's dead at the beginning. Then you see her kind of walk by under like a surveillance camera from the top. It could have been anybody. And that's it. So unless there were scenes that she was cut. To me, and on the poster, on the picture of this, is his girlfriend, played by Lorenza Izzo from Italy. But the stars of the movie, besides Jon Hamm, were the two cops. Roy Wood Jr. played Inspector Morris Monroe, and Aidan Mayeri played Grizz. They were the best parts, besides Jon Hamm. Like the three of them together, I loved it. And also when you saw John Slattery, but he was only in it for a few minutes as a newspaper man. And okay, so I was saying that he was just a newspaper man. Sorry, I paused it because something I had to check on something. So, I was saying the two best characters were the two police officers who I'm pretty sure are written specifically for this movie. But as I said, I read some Fletch, and knowing me, I like to read books in the order they're published, not the order of that they were, a chronological order, like if there's flashbacks or anything. No, because I like to read the book that came first, they published second, even if in the timeline it goes back, because those flashbacks are kind of like, they're what I would try to say is, even if it's in the past, it's built on the knowledge of these other movies that have already come out. So that's where I'm always other books that came out. That's where I'm always like, read them in the order of publication. That's my long way of saying is, I think I read this book. Confess Fletch, and I have no memory of the story. I didn't remember it at all. All I remember is Fletch had this Boston police officer who had his own series of books, and I read a couple of those too. This was like early on, going to the used bookstore, getting paperbacks, like I want to say 2000, early 2000s. I mean, I was in Florida in 2005, so it was before that. And those books there was a character named Flynn, and there was 4 Flynn books. But Flynn was the cop in Confess Fletch. And for the movie, they changed that to Morris, Monroe, and Grizz. There's no Flynn in this. At first, I thought, when I remember going, oh, is John Slattery going to be Flynn, the cop? He wasn't a cop. Even the trailer, he's like, Fletch, I got a story for you. And if you've seen the movie, I'm not spoiling anything for you. That's at the end. That's at the end of this movie. It's like, I got a story for you, like your next adventure. He's barely in it. He's great in every moment he's in, but he's barely in it. But Roy Wood Jr., who's a stand-up comedian, and Aiden Mayeri, I recognize her, but I don't know her. They were very funny. Like they were the cops who were just like, they hated Fletch, but Fletch just toyed with them constantly. And at the end, you could see they kind of respect him a little bit. I loved the rapport. I loved them together. Kyle MacLachlan plays this art dealer who's also a germaphobe, and that actually ended up giving something away. Spoiler alert, he's the killer. Then there was John Slattery. It was weird because all of a sudden Marcia Gay Harden showed up, but like with a real Italian accent, calling Fletch flesh. She kept saying flesh. But I thought she was actually pretty funny too. At the very, very end, we see Robert Picardo just for like 5 seconds. But I did get a little confused, and they kept talking about the different names. They're like, Owen Tasserley, this guy, and Ronald the Harlan. I was like, wait, who the hell is Owen Tasserley? Oh, he's just the owner of the place, who is the fiance's ex, or not the fiance, just the girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. I don't know. The neighbor next door, she was kind of funny. Just that was like some comic, silliness. That was about as silly as it got, was with her. But I thought John Hamm did a very good job where he's the cool guy, and his facial reactions to things were like, is what sold me. Like he's like, what? Huh? Oh, well, like trying, when he realizes, when he outsmarts them, it's one thing, but when he realizes, oh shit, I don't have an answer for this. Just the way his facial, I'm going to say contortions, because it wasn't like he was being like a rubbery man, like Jim Carrey, but just the way he kind of just deadpan, like would look at people. I just really enjoyed his, the girl Grizz, the female cop, was like, he really picked on her, but in a fun way. And the Inspector Monroe, and he keep calling me, you're an inspector? You're an inspector? He was just like, he didn't want to deal with him at all, but he also didn't want to arrest him. It seemed like something told them that, something doesn't add up. I liked that, John Hamm, every time he left a car, he'd say 5 stars, 5 stars. I think of one time he said 4 stars, but like, that was just his little thing, that he was going to give you 5 stars for your Lyft or Uber ride. I wish this movie got more attention. It sucks that it came out in a time where people still weren't really going back to the movies just yet, unless they were seeing Top Gun. Thankfully, John Hamm was also in Top Gun too. This is my second Hamm of the month. But he was much. This is what is great about John Hamm. John Hamm was a kind of a dick in Top Gun Maverick, and that was kind of more his Don Draper, the guy who's just very, very rigid. The anti-hero sometimes, and then he wasn't the anti-hero in Top Gun, but just a much more dick. But in this, he was just so likable And he says, he goes, but I'm adorable. Like, he said it, and it was like, yes, you are, Fletch, you are. I would love this to be a series. I could see Fletch doing this like on a weekly basis. I wish they do something like that. You know, give it a Paramount Plus, make it a limited series. Give me 8 episodes of John Hamm's Fletch going around, and John Slattery calling him at, you know, the beginning and the end of every episode. I would watch that. But I don't see, besides the fact that they say Greg Mottola was hired to, or was asked to write the next movie, I don't see anything on Mr. He's going to be in Fargo. Interesting. I don't see anything on the on his IMDb saying that he's going to be Fletch again. But, you know, they could do Fletch 1 and Fletch 2. Those are actually books, but maybe Fletch 2 is a different Fletch because it's TOO, like Teen Wolf or Splash 2. But I can't think of much else to add to this. I didn't think this was going to be a very long one. I'm not going to go through the whole plot. I can't think of the plot. You know, I'm staring at the microwave thinking I should have that dinner now. But, you know, I told you, it's a mystery. It's a whodunit with colorful characters along the way. My favorite, again, are the 2 police officers and John Hamm. But even his moments with John Slattery at the bar, at the newspaper, and him just coming up with fake names, being fake for different people. And there was, like, he interviewed this one woman who wanted to be like it was like a young woman, and who said she's like a stylist or a decorator, and he's like insulting her almost to her face, or being a dick, and she's not even buying it. Or she's not even like realizing that he's being condescending, which I enjoy that. So I've already spoiled everything for you, but if anyone asks you, should you watch the new Fletch movie, I say yes. I'd say yes. If anyone asked me, I'd say yes. I wonder if you'd feel the same way. You know, you can always reach out to me. You can email geekmentality@fansnotexperts.com. I don't think I've talked about that much. Or even easier, you can just find me on Twitter and on Instagram at geekmentality. And also, I guess, on Mastodon.social. I'm posting the movies on there, the post and links, but I mean, there's no interaction. I don't even know what people are doing on there. Twitter to me is still the place to go. And there's also a Facebook page. Fans Not Experts is the Facebook page. The website, of course, is fansnotexperts.com. Confess Fletch. It's on Paramount Plus right now. I was very happy that I watched it. And I think that's it. I think I'm done here. So listen, I told you everywhere you can find me. And I meant it. So now I'm going to have my dinner. And then I'm going to put my face on John Hamm's body. And then I'm going to drop this into the podcast, put a little trailer, put a little music, put a little Fans Not Experts at the end. But before that happens, you know what comes next, right? That's right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And until tomorrow, my friends, until Friday, here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode. Fans Not Experts.